Hello everyone, welcome to Broadband Deployment News. Today I'm going to be talking about Alabama's new broadband map that they put together in order to see what the situation is with broadband in Alabama. I'll be right back. Thanks for joining me. Rick Husey here with Broadband Deployment News. So states right now, states are in various situations as far as their readiness for accepting federal broadband dollars, and they need to be very ready for the Biden infrastructure bill, which passed, the Broadband Equity, Access, and Deployment Act, $42.5 billion or so from that. So states are doing what they can to get ready for that, and they've really been doing that over time as well, because as I've mentioned in previous broadcasts, there's dollars available from ARPA as well, which also gets granted to the states. So they've been trying to get their broadband offices in place, and a lot of them are putting together maps so that they can get a better handle on who has broadband in their state, because the maps that we have from the federal government are not that good. But the federal government, NTIA, did put together a broadband kind of a infrastructure map, so to speak, that's showing where broadband is, and they're allowing states to participate in that. And I think that's how some of these states are using some of that same framework, that broadband map framework, to put their maps together, because they all look similar in some ways to that NTIA map. So I'm going to show the Alabama map today, and we can see what that looks like. So you can see here, right now I've got it pulled up, and I'm going to have this pulled up where I was looking at it already. I'm going to show you at the end of this basically how I got started, but I didn't want to do that because I noticed that the map was somewhat slow and unresponsive, so I let it sit there for a while, and I didn't want to go back to the beginning and maybe have it be unresponsive while I'm giving you a quick demo here. So I'm just going to show it as it is, and in fact I think I'm going to go ahead and go full screen here so it can be a little bigger for all of us. So this is the map here in Alabama, and I'll just go through a few key things here. So over here, you can make it bigger and smaller, obviously, or you can use your mouse wheel. I'm going to leave it right where it is right now. I've got it at a good spot, and that can be a little bit touchy when you do that. Right here, this is the default map view, so that if I click that, it would take it down to where the state is smaller. I don't want to do that. I don't think it changes the background of the map. I didn't see that it did that. This is where you could plot where you're located, find my location. Over here, you've got the base map, and you can change the base map and what it looks like. I've clicked around on that, not very helpful. I'm not even sure what the default is, and I noticed when I click the default here, it didn't change the map background, it just changed, like I say, the size. So you could change you've got everything from imagery hybrid down to, colored pencil map down here. And let me scroll back up there. So that's what that is. Over here you can draw on the map, measure. I'll do that probably. I'll demonstrate that here maybe towards the end. And then you've got your map layers. Let me scroll back up. So you've got your map layers and your legend. Now you've got your legend and your layers down here, but you can pop those out, which I found kind of helpful. So I can move this over here, pop the legend out, pop the layers out, and then I can basically see the same thing, but I found it kind of helpful to have them here on the side. So what we're looking at now, we're looking at the advanced map. And when you first come into the map, you've got the standard map, and the difference is on a standard map is that you just see the broadband. Basically, you're seeing what you see here, and you don't have as many speeds. I think if I remember, you just have, we can go back, we'll look at it. Excuse me, but I think you have the 25x3 and the 100x20, but you don't have some of these other speeds. Anyway, you're limited on the speed you can see, and then you don't have any of the information. I think you still have this. You don't have grant-funded areas, and you don't have the county borderline. So I found the advanced map. I think that's the one I would use, but I'll go back to and show the standard map here towards the end. So we're looking at the advanced map, and we're looking at, I found this a little bit confusing, but we're looking at wireline and fixed wireless. And you see the eyeball here, the layer is activated, but these other ones are not. So I found this kind of confusing because I don't have these other layers, fiber, cable, DSL, are activated, but yet I still have information on the map. So I'm not sure why that is. I think it's probably maybe just a total, and it's showing me up here, you can see wireline and fixed wireless at 25x3, and it's showing me 80 to 100%. That's that darker color. 50 to 80% is the kind of medium blue, and then you've got 1 to 50% right there, and then there's no coverage would be obviously these blank areas right here. So I think that's probably what it's showing you is this is the state in general of wireline and fixed wireless if you have that selected. If I unselect that, obviously that goes blank. And now I can go in and I can select some of these. I'm going to start with DSL, and we're at the slowest speed here, so 25 by 3. This is basically the definition of broadband from the FCC right now. That's probably not going to stay that way for long, but that's where they have it right now. And if I click DSL, you'll see that that will populate. Again, it came in pretty quick. When I was looking at this earlier, it was kind of slow, and I don't know if my laptop could be downloading Windows updates, or if it was just now I've kind of got the data preloaded in here, cached or something. So I've got DSL. I can click cable. I can see where cable comes in. I can click fiber. I can see where fiber comes in. And I believe this is all cumulative. So fiber, 25 by 3, it's probably also 100 by 100 and a gig by a gig in a lot of cases, possibly. So that's those three. I can click fixed wireless. Let's see, that one popped in there. And then as I do that, you can see the legend expand. So now I can see what my cable coverage is, and as far as the percentages covered in a particular area, and the same with these other, DSL. So again, if I take cable off and fiber off, what have I got? What else have I got on here? I got fixed wireless. So I'm just going to look at DSL. So I can look at DSL. I can zoom in a little bit and see what kind of coverage I have here. So I can look at that. And you can click on a county. Let's take this county here. You can see, I just saw something loading there, so you can see it's still loading some data. But as I click that, it's going to tell me specifically the percentages, and I don't have to have them selected, but it tells me my wireline and fixed wireless percentage, my wireline 25 by 3, fiber, cable, and DSL in this county. So this is Bibb County, Alabama. Then, then I've got some zeros down here. And this is for the total county. And then if I click to the right, I can see what I've got in different census blocks. So you can see this census block is showing as nobody getting broadband access there. And as you do click those census blocks, I'm going to zoom in a little bit more here. As you do click those census blocks, they'll light up down here. It kind of gets covered. But as I click that, you'll see it's this little small blue area here, again 0. So a lot of these areas are unserved. And I click around, unserved, unserved, and you see I've got, let's say how many, I've got 22 of these that I could click through if I wanted to do that. I could click a county that's got a little bit more coverage. This one, can I move that? No, I can move this though. Now I lost that. I noticed that when you lose it, you got to click and go back. There we go. And watch, I'm going to move this. There we go. All right. So this one, 93% wireline and fixed wireless. Wireline 25 by 3, 93%. And you can see fiber's 14%, cable's got 90% of this county covered, 48% is DSL, and there's only 5 census blocks here. As I click on those, this one apparently is showing a 0. That's right there. That's also zeros, zeros. I'm assuming I'm going to get to a census block here that's got, well, now why is that? How is that possible? So for some reason it's only showing me not every location. It's just showing me these census blocks right in that area. And I don't see, maybe can I click in here? Nope, I'm getting the same thing. So obviously it's not showing me all these areas that have service. So I don't know how that works. Nothing's perfect yet, obviously, on these maps. Like I say, it's been a little bit slow, and I'm finding little buggy things in here. But overall, there's really a lot of good data in here as you look at it. So I'm going to back out a little bit. So I do that. I'll close this. Actually, I don't want to close that. I want to move that. And I'm going to come back to right here. So again, I'm looking right now at just DSL, and again, I can put fiber, cable, etc. I can also click just the total here, and I think what that's doing is taking them all, but it's taking away the color coding that I have for these, because I notice not much difference. Actually, I do see, it's funny, I do see a difference when I take cable off. So it's probably got to do with the opacity of what I'm looking at. You can zoom and you can increase or decrease the opacity, but I think probably the easiest thing to do is just take this off if you want to look at the various types of broadband, if you want to do that. So And I'm going to go ahead now. So that's 25 by 3. Again, that's the minimum for broadband. I think that's probably going to be changing to 100 by 20 as far as the definition, the official definition, because we're seeing a lot of these broadband funds. That's kind of the requirement. That's what they're calling, for example, in the IIJA, the Biden infrastructure bill that's got broadband in there, the two categories are underserved and unserved. So if somebody is not getting 100 by 20, let's say they're getting over 25 by 3, but they're not getting 100 by 20, then they're considered underserved. If they're not getting 25 by 3, they're considered unserved. So there's your two categories right there, basically. And I think probably 100 by 20 will be considered the new broadband, if not even 100 by 100, when the FCC changes that definition. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to 100 by 100, and we'll see that things get a little bit less covered, and I notice I lost my legend. Oops, I didn't want to scroll there, I want to scroll here. So I'm going to go ahead and put those back on. That's another thing I'm not crazy about, is you lose your pop-out legends here. All right, so scroll back down right there, get the state in here. So what are we looking at now? So now I've got all of these selected except wireline. I don't have mobile selected, so I'm looking at basically fiber, cable, DSL, and fixed wireless. And if I uncheck fixed wireless and cable and fiber, we're probably not going to see a whole lot of DSL, because we're talking about 100 by 100 now. So this is one of the issues that we have in a lot of these areas, is that you've got a provider that's just providing DSL, and because of the technology, copper pair and distances that you can do with DSL, there's just not a lot of people that can get high speeds. So generally you're seeing that those are going to be the lower speed kinds of connections at 100, and not 100 by 100. But I can pop fiber in here, and I can see that gets good coverage, and even cable. I've got a cable operator down here that's doing that, but not a lot of cable operators doing 100 by 100 in there. And then fixed wireless, it's not adding anything at that speed. And then if I pop the wireline on, actually if I pop on, let me go ahead and put in just the total here, and you'll see now again I've got everything kind of covered, or everything selected, and you can see the coverage of that right here. And then I can go again to, we'll go to gig. You can see my map zoomed out, so I'm going to zoom back in, and I'm going to put my legends back up. I could do them down here on the right as well, but I find it easier just to have them right here. So there's my legend and my map layers again. So now we're looking at a gig, and I've got, this is looking at the total picture. And again, I can take that off if I want to see what I've got as far as, there's probably nothing on cable. I don't have any cable. It's actually trying, I'm seeing it's still kind of trying to load right here. So I guess it loaded, and I don't think we've got anything. I'm going to look down here at the very bottom now. There you go, bring that down. And then fiber, I will probably see some fiber, I would imagine, yeah. So fiber, once you have fiber in the ground, it's a little bit easier to do gig, right? And there's not going to be much difference between 100 by 100 and a gig by gig, because there's not really that much cost involved at that point. It's just a matter of bandwidth. It's not so much the technology. So we see that there's still coverage for fiber here. And again, I can click on this particular county and get stats on that. So again, I see wireline and fixed wireless 82%, and fiber's got 82% of that. So I see 0 for these others. So that is pretty much what I was expecting there. And then you can click around, and this particular census block's 100% covered with a gig. And then as I click, same thing, and you can kind of see the little blue that's popping up right there. That's that census block. So you can see that's pulling up in this area that's covered, and there's 67 of them. What was that last one? That one's 0. So that's in a particular area that does not have that service. And it's got looks not served at all at a gig, obviously, by these other technologies as well. So what else have we got here? So the other thing I thought was, I'm going to take these off. I'm going to take off all of the, now I'm going to turn that off and turn the rest of these off, because I wanted to look at some of the grant stuff. I thought that was really interesting. Actually, I'm turning those on. Hold on, turn that off. All right, so now I think I've got a blank map. Yep. So now I can go down on these layers. I've got my county boundaries, but I've also got legislative districts. I don't think that's particularly of interest. Looks like they're all selected, so I'm not sure. Maybe you have to zoom in to see those. But then you've got your grant fund areas. And it will show you everybody that's got that's won CAF2 money and RDOF money, and then up above that we had what do we got? We got state grants, Reconnect projects, Community Connect programs. I'm actually going to uncheck everything and kind of bring them in one at a time just so we can see them come in. I'll take off these guys too. That's CAF2, and this is RDOF. And there's quite a few RDOF. Now these are people that have won the auction basically in these areas, but they've not necessarily gotten money yet, which is important to note. Like Spacex, for example, we don't know. I can show you where Spacex has won the auction on these particular areas, but we have no idea if they're actually going to get money. And if they don't get money, we don't know what that means, because does that mean that the FCC comes back to the next bidder and says, hey, you guys bid on this and we're not going to give it to SpaceX. Do you want to go with your last bid? I don't know how they're going to do that. I guess we'll find out. So again, I've got everything turned off now. So I'm going to start. Let's start up here with state grants. I'm just going to turn that on. And I don't see anything has popped up. So a lot of times I don't know if there's no data coming in. I don't know if that means they haven't loaded the data or there's really nothing. Because I noticed there's one county in here that apparently is internet free. Even with all of the RDOF and the CAF2 awards that have been made, there's no internet in that county, and I don't believe that's possible. So I'll turn off state grants. Reconnect projects, I am not seeing it, surprisingly. So again, I think there's got to be Reconnect. Well, maybe not. So Reconnect does tend to be more farmland, but I would think you'd have farmland here. You know, rural areas, certainly. I'm not sure about farms, but Community Connect programs. This may be data that is not yet loaded. And I don't mean here just in this application, but I think just in general, it's maybe not in the database yet. I had not looked at that earlier. I was looking at some of these awards. So I am going to look at CAF2 winners, and let's just check out Tom Bigby here. That's a provider that's providing fiber, and interesting. You know, it may have to, I know what it may be. Could it be the gig? Actually, I'm going to uncheck that. I'm going to go to RDOF winners and see what happens. Let's look at Mediacom. This was working earlier, so I wonder if it's going to I'm on a gig. Although a lot of these people did bid a gig. Let's see who else we had here. Let's look at Windstream. Interesting. Is it because I don't have it selected? No, I do have it selected there. I have the CAF2 selected. I'm going to go down to, I guess I'll go down to 100 by 100. And let's go back up. I saw this earlier when I was looking at it. That was on my PC, I think. I think it's before I had switched this over to the laptop that I'm broadcasting from. So let's look at our legend. Let's look at our layers. Come down here. Grant funded areas. And let's go to RDOF winners. And now, let's see, I'm going to turn off this so I can see better. Now, and it's funny, it's still got these selected now. So this is another thing that sometimes it, even though I had unselected these, it selected them again once I switched speeds, maybe because I had looked at it at that speed before. So I'm taking that off at 100 by 100. And down here, again, let's look at my CAF2 winners and see what I have here, because I'm going to turn that off and turn it back on. Okay, so glitch in the map, because when I looked at this earlier, okay, CAF2, thinking about it, CAF2 had lower speed limits, so let's take that off. Let me just try. I know RDOF's going to have at least this 100 by 100, so let's just try this. It looks like it's turned on already. Turn it off and turn it on. All right, does not seem to be doing anything. Let's go ahead and switch. I'm going to switch to the standard map, show you what that looks like, and then I'm going to come back in and see what happens. So when you come to the map, you get this. This is when you basically start from scratch, and I just switched. But when you come to the map, it gives you this little info on how to use it, tells you what's in the standard view and the advanced view, and So you can click that or cancel, click OK. And then it opens up at the smaller size. And again, this is the standard map. So when I look at the legend, this is all I have is this. And when I look at my map layers down here, I've got my different types of broadband, but I don't have any of the other things about the grants, those kinds of things. So what the advanced map does, and I'm going to switch to that. Oh, and you see the speeds here. So yeah, it's 25 by 3, 100 by 20, and 1 gig. So I don't have the 100 by 100 on this one. So when I switch to the advanced, you see the 100 by 100 shows up. My map comes in. I have my county boundaries now, which I did not have a selection for there. And I'm going to go to 100 by 100. I'm going to zoom in. And I'm going to put my layers on, my legend. So I think I'm starting from scratch now, so maybe whatever was not working a minute ago will work. So let me come down here, and I'm just going to go in and select my grant funds. And I'm not going to uncheck anything. I'm just going to CAF2 winners. And I just pulled that up. And I don't see anything. I'm going to go to RDOF winners. I got to select grant funded areas here. I did have that selected before. Oh, here we go. So now everything's popping in. So I don't know if I just had stressed the map out too much. I know I had this 99.9% sure I had that selected. I guess I can check the recording later. So I've got my CAF2 winners, my RDOF winners, and you can see they're all on here. So if I want to see who's doing what, I'm going to just uncheck a bunch of stuff here. And then I'll bring them up one at a time like I was trying to do earlier. The better way to do this would be to have it all blank and then let people select what they want to see, I think, but maybe not. And you can see there's quite a few RDOF awards for Alabama. All right, so there we go. So now everything's off, and I'm going to actually take off the internet itself as well for now. Okay, so let's look at some of these. So I was trying to look earlier to look at state grants and see what maybe showed up. And okay, so we do see some state grants pop in there now. And we can see, I'll take that off, we can see reconnect projects. So we can see certain counties that have reconnect money. And then community connect projects. There's something right up there. That's Tom Bigby. That's an electric cooperative in Alabama that's been really at the forefront, kind of leading the way with fiber in Alabama. So they've been doing that a long time. And they had gotten some CAF2 money, that's Connect America Fund. So you can see here they'd gotten some Connect America Fund money. And also it was interesting because you had Viasat, which is a satellite company that you can see all the areas that they qualified for CAF2. Now, they were not allowed to bid in RDOF because CAF2 was at these speeds, 25 by 3, and they were able to, Viasat was able to meet that. I believe that was the threshold. They were able to meet that, but for the RDOF, it had to be at least 100 by 20, I believe. So they were not able to bid on that. So that's your CAF2 winners. And then we'll look at some RDOF folks. So I didn't see Bay Springs come up earlier. I looked for them and I did not see them come up at all anywhere. Unless, is that them there? Let's see. Oh, yeah. So they got some money right here. That's where they showed up. CenturyLink, I'm not sure I saw them pop in. Oh yeah, CenturyLink came in. Okay, so you got CenturyLink, they got some RDOF money in places. Charter, I was talking about Charter yesterday. Charter has just rolled out their first RDOF site in El Paso, Texas. So they've not actually gotten any money yet. And actually quite a few of these folks have probably not gotten any money yet. The FCC has been releasing that. They've been looking at all of the long form applications and they're trying to figure out to make sure that everybody is qualified as far as technically and financially. Plus, again, there's some issues with folks like Spacex that they're not probably sure yet if Spacex should be able to actually get this money. We'll have to see what happens there based on the speeds that they could provide and whether they'll be financially stable over the long haul. Because these are 10-year kinds of commitments. So there you see Charter Spectrum, and the areas where they have bid in. But again, they've probably not gotten. I know they've not gotten any money yet, but the thing that I was talking about yesterday, the article I was reading in yesterday's broadcast was about them. They've walked out, I think, 30,000 miles so far of poles to try to get pole attachments. And they did that in El Paso. They were having some issues in Kentucky with one EMC up there. They've probably been doing that here in Alabama. So everywhere where they've won RDOF money, even though they haven't gotten any money yet, where they won the auction, they've been doing walkouts, and they're probably doing that here in Alabama as well. Let's see, then you've got Connecting Rural America. This is probably a consortium. It could be EMCs or others. It could be just some kind of consortium of different providers. It could be EMCs, phone companies, maybe partnering together. I don't know. Mediacom, see their locations here in yellow. And every time that you add somebody, you would see them showing up in the legend here. So if I have more than one, it's going to show up in the legend like that. Oops, sorry, hard to, that's really small. There we go. So there's those two in the legend, for example. Then you've got Next Tier Consortium. So again, that's a consortium of some kind of operators, again, possibly electric membership co-ops and or phone companies or both. You've got NRTC. This is a consortium. NRTC, that's a National Rural Telephone Cooperative, I believe. And so they are probably rural telecoms and or could be electric co-ops. That might more likely be somebody like NRECA. But you've got NRTC here. They're a consortium. I'll take them off. Got Pine Belt Communications. That could be an operator down here. They've got quite a bit of territory where they got funds. Point Broadband. You see them popping in over here. RDOF USA Consortium. Quite a bit here. Not sure who this is, but this again could be electric co-op consortium that is partnering together there to do that. I'm leaving some of these on here now. I'm going to take these off actually because I want to do SpaceX now, just so you can see clearly where SpaceX is. So this is SpaceX. So again, what SpaceX did, I mentioned this the other day, is they bid on lots of different areas. And if they saw it on the map that it was available, since they are a satellite provider, they don't have to do anything really to reach these areas. They've got a constellation of satellites up in the air. And if they're not already hitting Alabama, they plan on hitting Alabama very soon, where they could provide this, is the hope. So they basically just bid on any areas that they could, and they did have the advantage in that they didn't have to really worry so much about build-out costs associated with a particular area. So it didn't really matter how remote it was, because the satellite can hit the middle of Birmingham just as easily as it can hit somewhere down here. So they bid on all of these areas, and again, there's a lot of question as to whether they'll be viable. So what happens if, again, they are the only ones that have these areas. So as I add others, you'll see there's no overlap because everybody bid on certain census blocks. So what happens if the FCC decides not to award funds to SpaceX for RDOF? I'm thinking they're going to have to let other people come in, like maybe they look at it was just this consortium that's got some adjacent areas, and maybe they say, hey, you guys, maybe these guys may have bid in these areas as well, and maybe SpaceX outbid them, we don't know, but whoever the second bidder is in there, they may get access to these areas for RDOF. Then you've got Starry down here, and you've got Windstream right there. So as you add these back in, you'll see they're coloring the map, and again, there should be no overlap because each bidder bid on a separate census block group, basically. So it starts to color the map in nicely. Add Charter, and that's going to be a big chunk. CenturyLink's going to add more. Bay Springs, and you'll see there's still some places that are not, but these could be already served. I'm going to go ahead and put the wireline and fixed wire back on here, and you can see a lot of that gets filled in by areas that are already considered served at 100 by 100. So it's looking better, although like I had mentioned, there are these vast areas that not only have no broadband at this speed, but nobody has bid on it. So here again, you've got Bullock County, and I know there's at least one town in there. It is Union Springs. Look, I'm going out, I gotta go in. I'm gonna zoom in here. So, you know, here you got Union Springs in the center of that. So definitely people living there. But yet, does that mean they have no broadband? I thought that's maybe where Union Springs Telephone was, and I know they were offering broadband at some point. I don't think I think they might have sold to somebody. I'm trying to think back. Then you've got over here, whatever this county is. There's one little, is that Starlink right there? So I'm going to click on that. So again, showing no broadband anywhere in this county, which I find it hard to believe. Now again, this is 100 by 100, so it could be all DSL, but the fact that there's no, if the broadband is really bad there, so let's say they don't have 100 by 100 and maybe they have 100 by 20 or 25 by 3, if the broadband's really that bad there, then why are there no RDOF? Now it does look like it's pretty mountainous. You got some roads, small little, I don't know if you call it a town. There's a town called Listman, so that may be part of the problem. And this is the problem, right? So when you have areas like this, where you've got people living, I'm assuming this is maybe not a lot of people living, but this looks like a little town area right here. So you got people that, you know, do they not have broadband? And they're kind of hard to reach. So this is one reason why you need good middle mile infrastructure to be able to reach out to these areas. And then obviously the last mile infrastructure. So I'm going to drop it back down to 25 by 3. Come back in. Let's look at that county. So which one was it? Can't remember, but it was one of these. I think it was one of these. So I've got some 25 by 3 in these areas. Oh, okay, it's popped in more now. So there's some 25 by 3, but there's areas obviously that could use funds, but yet if I go in, I'm going to have to pull back my, let's see, come down here. Come in here, grant funds, CAF, let's do RDOF winners. Well, let's do them all. Watch it not work now because of the speed I've selected. So see, they're already selected, so that's where I think that's where the map messed up, is if they're already selected and you change maps, it's not going to pop in. Back out here. So still a little buggy. Again, a good map. It's a great concept, but I think still a little buggy. I'm going to go ahead and remove. So now I'm looking at 25 by 3. I'm going to bring up my legends so they're easy to see. Bear with me here. My map layers actually. So I'm going to come down here. I'm going to turn this off. Actually, I'm going to turn it back on. I wanted to see where I was here. All right, so I got these counties here, down here on this side, and I'm going to turn that off. And let's see what we've got as far as grant-funded areas. RDOF. And RDOF is selected, and yet now it's not showing up. So it's probably got to do with they were already selected. So that looks like a bug in the map. I'm going to hit a gig and hit my map layers and hit my grant funds. And they're popping. Maybe did I not select that? 25 by 3. Grant funds. Ah, there they are. Maybe I wasn't selecting that. Okay. And so I'm 25 by 3. Let's put this on. So let's take a quick look. So I've got my RDOF and all my grant money. And then I've got this area. So at 25 by 3 even, this county is apparently, the only thing it's got, I believe, is Starlink showing up. Or SpaceX, Starlink. So I take that off. Yeah. So you can see here that Starlink is covering some of this. When I check SpaceX, that fills in some, including a tiny little section up here in this county. And it is filling in quite a bit in here of these unserved areas at 25 by 3. And then you get Starry doing that. So you can see some things filling in these areas that are not covered by 25 by 3. So let's take this off. think this is a better way to look at it. I wanted to look at Charter specifically. That was a big one. I'm going to take off these state ones. Kind of confusing. Take off Reconnect. Because a big reason for this map is for RDOF, not just RDOF, but the IIJA, which is really the 100 by 20 question, right? So again, if I put on Spacex, you can see what they're filling in. If I check Charter, you can see the areas they're filling in. So I'm going to go to 100 by 20. This would be the underserved as far as IIJA, and I can look at my layers again down here, and I'm going to look at grant funds. Turn that on, and you can see there is a nice fill in there of the map as we do that. So again, this is 100 by 20. And this is what grant-funded areas are doing. And if I take off the state stuff, and I look at just CAF2, let's say in RDOF, that is what we're looking at right there. Again, with some surprising areas that have got nothing in it, and especially here. This is the county that I think I was looking at that is maybe a little more rural. But there are still some areas that, again, you know, you've got these roads and you've got people living on them, and they don't have 100 by 20. So how are we going to get that there? So these, I guess, are areas that will still be covered, will be able to be covered by the Biden infrastructure bill that passed, the broadband infrastructure bill there. So a couple more things. I was going to show you the drawing kind of thing. I'm not sure. I guess that can tell you like distance. So you can come in here, and if I want to, let's say I want to look at this county down here, this Bullock County, and how big is that? You can come in here and hit draw, and I can now measure distances by clicking once and coming over here, and this is going to tell me how big that is. It's 51.27 kilometers. I can change that from metric. I can click here, and then I can come down, and I can outline the whole thing, so you can make like a polygon if you want. Not sure if this is what somebody would be doing, but then I can double click to stop it. And let's say 167.37 kilometers, and I'm assuming that's the diameter here. I don't think that's the area. You'd have to figure that out on your own probably. Let's go ahead and make that miles. So 104 miles roughly. You can, how do you get rid of that? Good question. I can do this and it goes away, but I notice when I do this and it comes back. So, but I can do a new one. So let's say I want to see how wide this area is. I can come in here and I can do that. And it did not stay. So there. Start measure by clicking in the map to place your first point. I did that. Maybe I found another bug here. Let's pull this on here. What happens if I go here? Yeah, see. So I don't know how to get rid of that without exiting the map. I think if you exit, it'll go away. So maybe you can only do one drawing thing at a time. Yeah, it's not really measuring from there. So that's the drawing. Again, this is something I was looking at earlier today, so I've not found all of the oddities with it. Was there anything else? I think that was it. You got some help up here. Again, your map layers, I showed all that. So that's pretty much it. So you can see it is a good map. It's got some issues. Like I say, it was acting kind of slow. I don't know if that was my laptop, it was downloading Windows updates or something, or if it just needed to kind of process all that data. It does tell you to please be patient, I think, on that little help screen that popped up originally to let things load. But you can see you can get a lot of good information here, and I think especially this is very interesting on who's won what. Now again, a lot of this RDOF stuff has been auctioned off, and people have won those auctions, and they've submitted their final applications. In a lot of cases, the FCC is reviewing those, and in some cases, like Starlink, I think there's a big question as to whether they'll get that money. There's other operators that we're maybe not sure about, but there have been several awards, I think 5 awards so far, that have been considered approved, and that money is now starting to come out. So we'll be seeing some of this area getting filled in. And like I say, Charter is already walking these areas out. They've even already deployed in El Paso, Texas, without actually getting any funds yet, but they're going to be applying their RDOF funds towards that. So they're trying to do the work, they're trying to do the prep work involved, and then actually building out and launching the service, in that case in El Paso, and they're going to be expanding that. So I talked about that yesterday. Thanks for joining me. I hope this was helpful for you. I think that's a pretty interesting map. So give me a like on YouTube if you would, and click subscribe and click the bell to be notified anytime I'm live. And I am live every day for Broadband Deployment News, so I will see you next week. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.